Good morning. Hello, I'm just checking my. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Is my voice audible?
Yes, clearly audible.
Okay, sir. Thank you. So, will we start admitting if anyone comes?
Uh, no, wait. Till 11 will start.
Okay, sir.
Yeah,
Shall I admit the students in the meeting before that?
yes, yes, yes.
Okay, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, sir. We'll be starting very shortly. We are just waiting for all our participants to join. Sure, absolutely. Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
We will be starting this session within 5 minutes. So, all the participants who are present here, please tell your friends or call them up and ask them to join as soon as possible, as we don't want you to miss any important information and we want you to be present for the entire session. Thank you.
Shumdatta,
Yes, ma'am.
you start please.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. And thank you, sir, for your patience. And a warm and cordial welcome to all our attendees joining us virtually today. I am Shomdata Mukherjee, a student of the Department of Information Technology, and today, day 2 of RTCI, Recent Trends in Computing and Informatics, the technical workshop hosted by our department to foster dialogue around emerging innovations in technology. While day 1 gave us valuable in person insights from industry professionals, today's online session promises to be equally enriching. Without further ado, it is my privilege to introduce our first distinguished speaker of the day, Mr. Chiranjeev Majumdar, Advisory Application Architect, Cloud and Analytic at IBM Consulting. I would like to give a little bit of introduction for sir. Mr. Mazumdar is a seasoned cloud and analytics architect at IBM's Client Innovation Center in India. With an illustrious career spanning 19 years, he brings global experience for sectors such as CPG, retail, transport, and petroleum. He holds several prestigious certifications. Additionally, he is recognized as an IBM Academic Ambassador Advocate and actively mentors students under the IEEE India's Council's Student Mentorship Program. He is also an IBM accredited Blue Core coach and career coach, having guided learners and professionals across the globe. His expertise includes data visualization using Power BI and a strong grasp over cloud infrastructure and generative AI technologies. He has also contributed to open innovation initiatives and authored impactful publications. We are honored to have with him us today. Sir, we request you to kindly take over and enlighten us with your session. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. So, thank you so much, all the professors, for inviting me here. It's a pleasure to be among all of you. First of all, I would like to ask all of you, just tell me a yes over the chat. I want this session to be very interactive. Is my voice audible, loud and clear? You can
Yes.
just say yes. Yeah, thank you so much, Professor. So, today what we'll be discussing about is, let me just share my screen, okay? I want this session to be very interactive. So feel free to get all chatty in the chat and ask your questions. And I also plan to have a lab at the end. Okay, so for the purpose of the lab, I hope your professor already told you about, but I'm still reiterating. I am hoping all of you have already registered for the skills build. Okay, if yes, then awesome. If not, please do it right away, because we would be needing that at the end of the session. Okay. The other thing I'm assuming all of you to have is, I'm hoping all of you have a Google account already, because you are logged into Google Meet, and you also have a GitHub account, because that's also something that we would need. So these are the prerequisites for the lab session. But before the lab session, I'll start off with the theory. If my voice is audible and clear, let me know. If not, let me know as well. Thank you so much. I'll be sharing my screen in a moment. All right, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay, thank you so much. So, all right, so today what I'm going to talk about is document summarization with IBM Granite. Now, what is IBM Granite? What is document summarization? We'll go into all of that. But before that, let's start with the diagram. Okay. Now, this is a diagram that all of you may be very familiar with. I'll still share it with you. And let me know if this doesn't make sense or if it makes sense. Okay. So this is simply what we call in mathematics a Venn diagram. Okay. And what we have are some sets, some supersets, some subsets. Okay. We have artificial intelligence, we have machine learning, we have deep learning, we have generative AI, we have natural language processing. We will be touching upon a specific generative AI large language model today, which is IBM Granite, which is created by IBM, and we would see how we can use it for our purposes. Okay. But before that, just reiterating some of the basics which you probably already know. What is artificial intelligence? Artificial intelligence refers to the simulation of human intelligence in machines. Okay. And then there are some overlaps. Generative AI comes at the cusp where there's overlapping with natural language processing and deep learning. Okay. And it actually helps to generate information based on certain prompts that you provide. Okay. And machine learning, deep learning, natural language processing, you may already be studying in your courses. I'll still reiterate here, in very simple terms. Machine learning is a field of AI that focuses on enabling machines to learn from data without being explicitly programmed. Okay. What is deep learning? Deep learning is again a subset of machine learning, and the deep learning is actually a type of machine learning that uses artificial neural networks that mimics the human brain, inspired from the human brain in terms of how it does a variety of problem solving, be it image recognition, natural language processing, speech recognition, etc. And generative AI is a further subset of deep learning, if you will, with an overlap with natural language processing that allows you to create new content. For example, text, images, music, or videos based on patterns that it learns from existing data. Okay. So we will be talking more about that. But before I go into it, some more basics, right? So here's a chronology of how it all started, right? In around the year 2000, the concepts of machine learning first came into being, though which were mainly feature centric. So we would have specific models to do specific tasks, okay, and then that would be it, right? Then we gradually entered into deep learning, where we started working on neural networks. We started pre-training models, and then we used those pre-trained models for certain tasks. And then 2020s, this is the decade where we started with foundation models, where we are training large language models with huge data sets. And those are trained with a corpus of data from multiple sources. It could be available from internet, could be available from better sources. And then we could use prompts to get whatever we desire in terms of output from those models with the foundation knowledge that it has. And then there are other nuances to it as well. For example, an organization could have an LLM served as a vanilla layer, and then on top of it, it could have a corpus of industry data, which is confidential, stored separately, and then we could have some kind of retrieval augmentative mechanism to get data from that source as well as this source, and then augment both the information together and provide the results to the users. Okay? Maybe this is a little bit superficial and complicated to hear, but maybe you already know about it in your courses, right? And we'll delve deeper into it as we proceed. Now, this is what I was talking about, how this transition happened, right? We used to have traditional AI models, which used to be built for specific tasks. And then we gradually started to have foundation models, which would have, for example, one foundation model trained with massive external data. It could be code, it could be text, it could be video, it could be audio, it could be internal sources, it could be cloud sources, it could be images. And then that foundation model, on being prompted, it's already trained, right? So it's able to perform certain tasks. Okay, it could be translation, it could be text generation, it could be code generation, it could be question answering, it could be any of it, right? And how we use it, maybe you already know. I'm pretty sure all of you are very much familiar with ChatGPT, with Gemini. There are n number of tools that are available today on the internet that helps you test generative AI. And so what happens at IBM, what we do is we have, for example, IBM Consulting Advantage. I will not discuss about IBM Consulting Advantage today, but I just want to give you a brief of what it does. Yeah. So IBM Consulting Advantage is a tool that's provided by default to IBMers all across the globe, as well as it's something that's being sold to clients today. And it provides you with a framework, but at the bottom layer you have multiple models, foundation models to choose from. You could have the proprietary IBM models like Granite, and you could have OpenAI models as well, for example, GPT. And then on top of it, there's a layer, and you could choose which model you want to work with. Okay, and you could work on it. You could have, for example, if you want to have some information around your own business process, right? For example, you have lots of information stored somewhere, maybe in your local machine, PDF files, for example, some technical journals. You could have all this information stored as part of document collections, and you could use them to come up with custom answers. So you add to document collections and then you do it. Yeah. But out of the scope of this particular talk and the training that I'm going to impart today, but this is something that I wanted to highlight. So that's something that IBM does. Yeah. And how does it look like overall from a future perspective as well, right? So generative AI and the future of work, how it will impact us. Now I keep hearing this question all the time, that will we be replaced by AI? I don't think so. Yeah, but someone who is using AI will definitely have an edge over someone who doesn't use AI. That's for sure. So there some replacement can happen. But will humans be replaced altogether by AI? I don't think so. Okay. And as far as the future is concerned, this is a schematic created by Constellation, and I thought it represented pretty well how the future scope may look like, or even part of the present scope. Even today, there are many organizations who are kind of leveraging this kind of an architecture to reshape the workplace inter-experience as well as client experience. Okay, so at the left-hand side, you have AI foundation models of global knowledge, which are housed in large language models, for example. And then you could have AI foundation models for enterprise knowledge. So this is where we talk about tuning the models. We talk about making sure that the models know what enterprise data is there. So the example that I provided a few minutes back was how IBM Consulting Advantage is using document collection to store documents. And then document collection is just one part of it. You could also have vector databases where you could put the data that you require, and from there you could have natural language prompts to get that output as you desire, okay, based on the knowledge that's already there in the corpus. And based on this source of knowledge, we could have a variety of AI enablements. We could have collection, we could do generative research, we could extract insights, we could have some automation. So you may have heard about agentic AI already, right? Agentic AI is a very in thing right now. And again, agentic AI is not in the scope of this talk, but I'll still briefly touch upon. So generative AI is one thing. Generative AI is when we provide some prompt and you get the data based on the training that the model has had. And on top of the vanilla layer, you could also add your own data. So that will customize the information based on how the organization wants to see it, for example. Okay. And when it comes to agentic AI is automation for sure because it's based on agents. At the same time, it can take its own decisions. It's autonomous, so to say. I'll give you an example of agentic AI as well that we have done at IBM. Okay, for example, our human resource department, they have to manually look for candidates and CVs. They have to scan CVs. Depending on the selection of CVs, they have to find the email address. If the CVs are selected, they have to send an email to those candidates that you are selected and this is the date of the interview that you should be attending. Right? Now, the entire thing they have been able to automate with agentic AI. Okay, so how they have done it? There are microprocessors, there are micro agents. So one agent that's responsible for selecting the CVs that are placed in a particular location, maybe a cloud location. One agent that's responsible for gathering the inputs. One agent that's responsible for identifying which is the email address in the CV. One agent which is responsible for how that email address is put in an email and how you compose that email. And one agent that is responsible for sending email. And all these agents, they work in an orchestrated manner. They work one after the other, and then it completes the entire process. So right from the point of selecting candidates to the point of sending emails, it's possible. Of course, there is human involvement. Because otherwise, AI can always hallucinate, right? AI can pick someone who may not be fit for that particular role. So there's always a human in the mix. There's always someone who's verifying that the information, that the decisions that AI is taking are correct decisions. There are some checks and balances that are in place. But at the same time, there's a lot of automation in place as well, along with that. Okay. So that's something that I want to highlight. Again, not in scope of this particular talk, but I want to highlight that as well in terms of future of work and how generative AI and AI in general can influence it. Yeah. So what is IBM Granite? So this is the crux of the talk today, and later on in the day, I'm hoping that you can also start on a lab, which I'm hoping you would find helpful. Yeah. So IBM Granite is a series of decoder-only foundation models. Okay. So when we say decoder-only foundation models, there are several types of LLMs that are available in the market today, right? There are encoder models, there are decoder models. So what decoder-only model implies that the decoder architecture is there for the TLNM, but when we talk about encoding, no separate encoding is happening. Okay, and then it was initially intended for use within the IBM's cloud-based data and generative AI platform. So by now you may already know that Watson X is the generative AI platform from IBM. Okay, but later on it has been opened for open source as well. So right now, as you will see in the lab as well, it's available in Hugging Face. Okay, so if you have already used Hugging Face, then awesome, you already know some of the basics. But in the lab, we'll see how we can use Hugging Face to use this LLM model and how we can use it to summarize documents. So summarization of documents is just one of the use cases that we'll talk about. There are hundreds of use cases for IBM Granite and LLMs like that. Okay. This particular one, as I mentioned, is under the Apache 2.0 license that allows all of us to freely experiment with, modify, and distribute this as well. Okay. There are a range of AI applications that are covered. It includes language models, code models, time series models, geospatial models. So language models are some of the things that we'll be covering today. For example, text generation, summarization, translation. Code models are typically used for code generation, debugging, understanding. Even if you want to do some code translation, for example, you have a Java code, you want to convert to Python code, for example. You could use it for time series analysis, for forecasting based on time series data. You could use it for geospatial applications, Earth observations, remote sensing. There are several use cases that could be used for IBM Granite. Okay? What are the benefits? Improved AI model accessibility, efficiency, responsive AI practices, allows for easier experimentation and scaling of generative AI applications, allows you to be transparent and performant. Here's one thing that I would like to mention is IBM has a strong AI ethics committee. And that committee actually ensures that whatever AI implementation IBM does is free from bias, because bias is a big thing as far as AI is concerned. We cannot have AI bias towards particular data, towards a particular feature. Okay, and that's something that's very strictly adhered to. And then special emphasis is put on being able to balance performance with efficiency. So one other thing that I would like to specify here is you have heard about large language models, okay? But large language models, bear in mind, these are very expensive. These are not cheap. Okay? Training a large language model costs a lot. And if a client wants to acquire a large language model for the specific purpose, the subscription is not cheap as well. Okay? So what we have come up with in the past in several of our experiments and research, we are currently working also on small language models. What are small language models? So small language models are trained similar to large language models, albeit with far less parameters, focused on a specific area. Okay. For example, suppose I want to build a corpus based on emerging medical technologies. For example, a particular area, for example, gastroenterology, let's say. Okay. So instead of using a model like GPT-4, which is trained on gastroenterology and I don't know, and ontology and so many and all the knowledge that you can have around the world, we focus only on gastroenterology. Whatever knowledge is there, based on internet, based on research papers, we use all that data, we put that in a small language model. And so now that model is a small language model, it's customized only for that specific area of data. What is the benefit? I need the model training costs go down rapidly. At the same time, it's quite inexpensive compared to large language models when it comes to how you prompt and how you use and how you subscribe to it. Okay? So that's something that has, as IBM, we are also promoting a lot. Okay? So now the next question is how IBM Granite works for document summarization. You may have a lot of questions, so please put those questions on the chat. What we'll try to do is at the end of the call, if we have time, we will take some questions as well at the end. Okay, because I'm sharing my screen, I cannot see if any questions have been posted. So these are the brief steps that are involved, right? So the first step is understanding the document. Input processing the input. Whatever text is there in the document, it is to process, right? Then contextual understanding. If I pick a certain sentence out of a whole paragraph or out of a whole chapter and quote it without context, then it may lose its meaning, right? So that contextual understanding needs to be there. And then how do we summarize that? Okay. One of the challenges that we have seen in the past is when we are dealing with large amount of data, even in terms of text, and we try to put that in a large language model, you could exceed the token limitation, okay, if it's too big data. So what is possible is to break the input data into chunks, okay, and then you summarize each chunk individually, and then you collate all the chunks together, get a final chunk, and from that you extract one final summary. That's also one way of doing it, and we'll see it during the lab. Okay, and this is something that is also mentioned under model architecture considerations. That how do we deal with models that have large parameter count? Okay, and then we have to evaluate the model based on the evaluation techniques that we have. Okay, it could be either BLUE, which is like bilingual evaluation understudy, or we could have other techniques as well. For example, the logistic evaluation that we'll see. Okay, so these are the techniques that we will briefly touch upon. And multiple formats can be actually analyzed with IBM Granite, including PDF, Word, text files. It can identify key sections. It can identify headings, subheadings, bullet points. So all of this is possible. It has built-in features to identify those. Okay. Some of the features, again, code summarization abilities, flexibility and control, integration, accessibility. You can integrate it. So there is one other thing that I would like to mention here, not part of the slides again, but I would like to specify here. You may have used ChatGPT, right? You may have used Gemini and the free tools that are available in the market today. But and I'm not sure if you have used GitHub Copilot as well. But similar to GitHub Copilot, IBM also comes up with its own integration when it comes to Visual Studio Code, for example. So for IBM Consulting Advantage, which is again a GenAI platform, which allows you access to multiple models, you could have code extensions that you can integrate with Visual Studio Code. So how it happens is, if I have some time, I may be able to show IBM Consulting Advantage briefly as well. So what happens is, when you have Visual Studio Code interface, you set up the extension for ICA, which is the IBM Consulting Advantage extension. And in ICA, you can build reusable assistants. So what are assistants? Assistants are essentially you build reusable GenAI snippets. For example, I do a prompt for converting my Python code to Java. Okay, but I have to write the prompt multiple times. So if I'm using ChatGPT today, for example, I'm writing it that convert this code from Python to Java. I put the Python code and then it comes up with the Java code automatically. Okay. Now, for example, I do it today. Tomorrow I have again similar requirement. So I have to prompt it again, right? I have to put that entire thing all over again. So assistants actually prevent that. So assistants help you to create this prompt as a reusable feature. So next time you invoke it, it will ask for an input. You can put directly the code. You don't need to put the instructions all over again. And then you don't need to play with the parameters all over again and how creative you want it to be, whether you want the temperature to be high, what would the parameter count. If there's some example that you would like to provide, if you go from zero-shot prompting, two-shot prompting, for example, those things would not be needed anymore because you already have them pre-built as an assistant. So it's like a reusable piece that you can use over and over again. But there's the benefit of having assistants. And all those features, when we are talking about IBM Granite is just an LLM, right? But on top of it, you could have prompts built. On top of it, you could have assistants built. And those assistants, if you enable them for reuse, then whenever you use it, they're just at your disposal. They're like your tool, right? So you invoke it, you put the input, they give you the output. Okay? So these things are possible. These things are actually happening in the industry today. Okay, and the future is it could be even brighter, I would think. So multi-language support is there. It includes English, Spanish, French, and many more languages, and thus it is very versatile as far as global users are concerned. Types of granite models. This is very important. Okay, there are two types of granite models that IBM has released, and we'll be discussing here in the scope of this talk. The first one is the Granite 13B Chat V2. What does 13B mean? 13B means it's trained on 13 billion parameters. And what does chat mean? Chat means that it's conversational, it's effective for conversations, and it can provide concise answers if you do it, for example, for customer service interactions. Or for example, if you just invoke it and then you start chatting with it. Okay, so it's effective for that. And then there is a different variant of it, which is a 13B instruct model, which is designed for instruction-based tasks. For example, generating executive summaries, or for example, generating key points from many documents. And this is one of the models that I plan to use today for the lab. Okay. And what is the benefit of using IBM Granite? Of course, text analysis and natural language processing, literature review, text summarization, information extraction, sentiment analysis, question answering, code generation analysis. You could use it for researching software development. You could do code explanation, documentation, code debugging, and if you are using an extension for Visual Studio Code, for example, then you could use it right from inside Visual Studio Code. Okay? So how does this happen? How does this entire cycle happen, right? For example, how much automation is really possible? For example, I have a use case. I start from the business requirements. I have a requirement to create a web page for a particular user where certain information needs to be displayed. That's my use case. And there are some more details adhering to it. Now, only with this particular use case can I go ahead and create an entire Visual Studio project just using GenAI. It's entirely possible. Of course, some amount of user intervention would be needed. Some amount of user review would be needed to ensure that there are no loopholes as far as coding is concerned, or as far as understanding the use case context is concerned. But it's totally doable. Okay. So how we do it, I can just talk about it because briefly. For example, we have I spoke about creating assistants, right? So those assistants can be chained one after the other. So one assistant we could have for use case identification, for example, for generating KPIs out of those use cases, right? We could have another assistant that actually works towards identifying the test cases that would be needed to verify that the use case is satisfied properly based on the code that we create. And we could have another assistant that actually does the granular disintegration into the technical requirements. What technical pieces are actually needed to implement that particular web page, for example. Okay, so we have 3 assistants so far. We could have a 4th assistant that actually helps the code generation. Okay, and then you chain all of this together. You call all of this together one after the other, and we could have a master orchestration that actually does that. And then at the end of the day, you would come up with an entire code segment that is deployable, where minor modifications may be still needed for configuration purposes, but will still be deployable. It will still be able to deploy as a web page with very little human intervention. So this is possible. This is actually happening today as we speak. So as far as IBM Granite is concerned, there are several real-world applications where IBM Granite is already being used in industries like finance, healthcare, education. There's improved productivity and efficiency in these industries, and some real success stories are here. All of you know about US Open, I'm sure, right? It's very popular. And US Open today uses Granite Foundation models to provide commentary for hundreds of matches. They have achieved a 220% increase in match reports created by leveraging Granite. So that's the impact of IBM Granite today. Lockheed Martin. So Lockheed Martin and its subsidiary RTCI has integrated IBM's latest generative AI Granite models, and it has built into its AI factory tools to accelerate AI-driven development for enterprise and national security applications. Fantasy football, the ESP fantasy football. Some of you may be using it. I'm not sure. There is Granite involved here as well because it has partnered with IBM to provide personalized explainability at scale for 12 million fans. Okay, and then again we have Blue Pearl, for example, which managed to cut 65% of data processing analysis time through job matching engine built on Granite. There are some example success stories. There are more, of course. Okay, these are some examples that I want to provide you with right now. So, as far as summary is concerned, IBM Granite provides versatile AI capabilities. There are benefits across domains that we discussed. Efficiency and productivity will get a boost if you use it. It's open and collaborative, so this model is available in Hugging Face, so you can use it if you want. It's open source. Focus on trust and responsibility. As I mentioned, IBM is part of an AI ethics committee, so there is a strong focus on AI ethics. AI guardrails are in place to ensure that whatever you source data from, those are reliable sources, that there is no bias in the data as far as possible, and it helps with continuous evaluation and innovation. Okay, so these are the key points that I want to come across. So now I'll pause here. I'll go back to my screen. So I'll stop presenting for a moment, maybe. Any questions from anyone? I'll take some time for questions and then we get started with the lab, because when you do hands-on, then things would be much more relevant. I'll take a pause here. No questions? Is everything clear? Yeah, you can write in the message section as Professor mentioned already. Okay. No, if there are no questions, then we'll go to the lab straight away. Okay. How much is Watson and Granite different? Okay. So first of all, Watson is not same as Watson X. So Abhishek Kumar, this is your question, right? So Watson is not same as Watson X. Watson X is a generative AI offering from IBM. Watson is different. Okay, Watson was built around 2009, 2010, if I'm not wrong. And Watson X is a framework that provides that allows you to use a large amount of LLMs. So Granite is one of the large language models that's provided, and that will be leveraged using Watson X. Okay. Let me know if that helps. If you have additional questions. No problem. Any other questions from anyone, please? No question? So either everything is clear to all of you students, or nothing is clear. Okay. So meanwhile, what I would request you to do, I'll post some information in the chat. You mentioned that you please ensure that you enroll, okay? Otherwise, it's very difficult for me to go ahead with the lab. So I'll post the lab link right away. I'm assuming all of you have registered for Skills Build already, because without that, it would be difficult. So, so this is the lab link. And for this, so Aranya, you don't need to use any software. You can use Google Colab. Are you familiar with Google Colab? Good. So Google Colab can be used for this one. So you don't need to install any software or use anything. Okay? And please let me know once you're able to access this link, once you're able to log in, and if you face any issues with this one. And also, I'm assuming all of you have a GitHub account. If not, please create it right away. It doesn't take too much time, because the GitHub account would be needed to get the duplicate credit that would be required for executing the code. Please, can you give me some kind of a feedback in terms of whether you are able to access the skill build course, or if someone is not able to use it or access it, let me know as well. I want all of you to be able to use this one and complete the lab by today, of course. Because then when you practice it hands-on, then the things become even more relevant to you. So meanwhile, if anyone has any questions, please go ahead and ask those questions. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. So anyone able to access the course already? Any challenges, any issues, please let me know. So can you give me a thumbs up, please? Whoever is able to use or log into the SkillsBit platform and able to access the course, just give me a thumbs up, please. Ishit, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Pratham. Thank you, Argodeep. Thank you, Argodeep. Thank you so much. Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you, Indrajit. Thank you, Karan. Thank you, Shantan. Thank you so much. Good. So, all right, this lab is self-paced. I have done this lab myself as well to ensure that everything goes smoothly, and I'm hoping that it could be smooth for you as well. Let me know if not, okay? And meanwhile, I'm open to any questions that anyone might have. I know this topic is a bit deep and the time is very less. So I'm open to any questions that anyone might have. Thank you, Rohit. Shantan, do you have a question or are you giving me a thumbs up? Thank you, Abhijit. Yes, you have to log into Skills Build with your ID and you have to start the lab right away. All you need is a Google account and a GitHub account, and there is some amount of replicate credit that would be needed, but that would be free for you. Once you log in, once you use your GitHub profile, you will get the credit automatically. So it's totally free. There's nothing that you need actually. Aranya, is your question clarified? Thank you. Anyone facing challenges, please let me know as well. I'll try to sort it out. Exactly. As Professor said, you can just sign it as a college student and that should be fine. So, okay, some questions here, one moment. Sir is asking where I'm going to use replicate for. Should I select my answer randomly? So you would be getting a code from replicate if I'm not wrong. So you make sure you copy the code and keep it because that code would be needed when you execute the code. Chayan, what are we going to do after? What we do after going to the lab? So you have to execute the lab, Chayan. So you go to the activity, you click on go to the activity, and after that you'll see you'll have a set of instructions that you need to follow. So those instructions you follow and complete it.
all the participants. As you can see, sir is answering your questions. So if you have any questions, you drop them in the message box. And if everyone has joined, please let us know. And if anyone has any issues when joining the lab, please let us know as well. Thank you.
What you do after completing the lab? After completing the lab, I'll ask you some questions, Raj. Are you done with the lab already, Rajshekhar? Okay, all the best. So I have a very basic question for you. Okay. In the lab, you may have already gone to the Python file, I'm hoping, right? Which model are we using? Can you confirm on the chat, please? Replicate API token you will be able to find when you register for the replicate. I hope you followed the instructions. You have to register for a replicate. You will get a $0.5 free credit when you register. And that token you have to use. Anyone who was able to use replicate token successfully, let me know, please. So there is a special mention where it mentions the third point. If you go to about the lab, right, in the introduction section, the third point, click here to claim your replicate credit. You will need to log in with your GitHub credentials. So if you follow that step, you should be able to get that credit, unless you have claimed it earlier already. That is only. Okay, you got right. Good. So Rajshekhar has got it already. So maybe you can help out, Abhishek. Good, good. Don't spend it anywhere else. Spend it on the lab, please. So you keep that credit. There could be a code, but that you may need to use. Okay, so keep that handy. Keep that window open in a separately as you execute the code. You will need it when you execute the Python code. Did anyone start to execute the summarized Python workbook already? What we could do is, if someone could share your screen, we could walk through it quickly, and then it would also help anyone who is stuck. So I had a question. If anyone is using the Python workbook already, which granite model are we using for this notebook? Can you confirm me over chat? Anyone able to use the replicate credit successfully in the Python workbook? Please let me know. IBM Granite, that's for sure, but which model? Argodeep, can you confirm? No, Quarks is not the right answer. Quarks is not even a model name. It is there. It is there inside the code. Exactly, Pratham. That is the model that we are using in the code. And if you see the model paths, and that is why we have been saying that it's open source, right? You are able to use it. If I compare with ChatGPT, ChatGPT is not open source, by the way. Okay, can someone please share your screen? I want to see at least one successful run for the code. Any of you? No problem, brother. Take your time. So, meanwhile, in installment, run all the code. Yes, you have to run all the code. Yes, Rajiv. You have to run all the code. And you got the API key, that is great. That is exactly what you need, actually. So you saw the Python workbook already, right? Can you tell me what is the purpose of this workbook? What it is doing actually? Anyone? I could tell it myself but I want to verify that you understood this correctly and how it ties to the presentation that I just did. Okay, Pratham is presenting. Thank you so much, Pratham. Let me focus on your screen. So Pratham, did you get the API key? Look at the chat again. Pratham, did you get the API key?
No, sir.
You didn't get the API key?
No, sir.
Okay. Did you follow the steps that were there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you said you got the $0.5 credit, but you didn't get the API key.
Sir, I just follow these steps and then log it into this page, replicate.
Okay. The credit you would need, Aranya. So, Rajdeep, if you are there, are you able to use the API key? You mentioned you have got the API key already. When you run this summarized.ipynb file, there you would need to use the replicate key. Otherwise, you cannot execute this code in its entirety. The initial few cells will run, but then after that, it will look for that key. That is why the replicate key is needed. So Aranya, when you register for replicate and log into your GitHub, there is the API token. You see it, right? There is the API token that's already created. Can you copy it? Yes, copy token. And then you try to use it. Not here. Now you run the code. Now you run the code. You go to runtime, or you can do it one by one as well. Yes, you go to run all. So, Pratham, can you tell me what this code is doing? What is the purpose of this code? You had a look, right? You can take your time and tell me.
No, sir, I'm not completely understand what's
Okay,
going on.
let me try to help you. Okay. So what this code is essentially doing, we spoke about summarization using LLM, using Granite, right? So what this code is doing, first of all, is first installing the dependent libraries that you need for executing this particular code. As a second step, it's helping to select the model. So there we are mentioning model path as IBM Granite, Granite 3.3, HB struct. Okay. Then we are putting the replicate model details. Okay, here you need the replicate API token. So you see, get environment variable. There's a function replicate underscore API underscore token. So when you execute this one, it will ask for the token actually. Okay, so there you specify the token. After that, what it's doing is it's creating a summary of summaries actually, because this is a book. This book is H.D. Thoreau's Walden from the project Gutenberg. It's a proper book, okay, and it's a big book. So the reason why we need a summary of summaries is because this book is too big, and the number of tokens is really big for this particular text. So that is why we are first using chunking to chunk the tokens, and then they're creating a summary of summaries. So there are two functions if you see. One is chunk document, and then there's the merge chunks function. It's actually merging it. Okay. And then it's finally summarizing the chunks. For each chapter, they're creating a separate summary. It will take some time, and then based on each chapter by summary, they're creating a final summary. This is more or less the gist of what this code is doing. Thank you, Abhishek. So after you get the API token, you have to execute this Python code, and there you would need this API token. Yes, in Collab. So if you follow the training instructions, you would get a link to open the code in Collab. You can also do it on your local machine, but I'm suggesting Collab because I do not know what kind of technical configuration you might have on your laptop. So best to do it in Collab. So I can see Pratham's screen. It's executing, it seems. You can use Jupyter Notebook as well. Yes, Pranabesh, the replicate API token you will get once you register for that credit. So this is how Pratham got it as well. And I think many others also got it. So have you pressed enter, Pratham? I have not. I think you have not pressed enter after putting the replicate API token.
What's that?
Have you pressed enter after putting the replicate API token?
Oh, no, sir.
You have to press enter. Did you press enter?
Okay.
Okay. Now I think it's is it progressing or not? Can you scroll up, please? Okay, Pranabesh, good. Okay, now it's working. Now it's working. You can see, right? So what I would really recommend you to do is try something different in your free time, because now you know how to access IBM Granite model from Hugging Face, right, from the open source. You may need some replicate credit. That's for sure, because the first time you use it, it's free. Next time on, it won't be free. But even then, it's a good investment actually. If you want, you can do it. Okay, because then what you can try is you can try playing around with this code. You can try some different text. Mr. Project Gutenberg, you can use some other sources. You can try playing around with the functions, customize the functions a little bit, and see how it works. But at least hopefully you get a flavor of how to actually use LLM model for document summarization. Good, Pranavesh. Thanks. So, Pratham, does it make sense, or do you have questions?
So we have uploaded here a predefined book, which is already uploaded in
We haven't.
that replicate.
Pratham,
So
we haven't uploaded anything. We are sourcing the text from the Project Gutenberg site, and the intent is to summarize the book. Okay. So what we are doing is essentially we are first summarizing the chapters, and then we are creating a summary of summaries. If I get the final summary, because the the length of text is very big. That's why instead of going for the summarization at one go, we are doing it by chunks. But essentially, this is an application.
how can we, sir? How can we perform it for like if we want summary for other books?
So if you scroll up in the code, you'll see a cell where it's referring to the source of the text, which is the Project Gutenberg. You can also do a Control F and find it if you want. So understand the code, understand what each code cell is doing, then it would make sense. So you see the chunk document reference, Gutenberg.org, cache, EPUB.
Yes, sir.
And actually, if you see here, we are also using prompt in this particular code. When you see for each chapter, we create a separate summary. There you will see a user prompt, where it's clearly saying, using only the book chapter document, compose a summary of the book chapter. Your responses should only include the summary. Do not provide any further explanation. So this summary is being this prompt is being utilized for each of the documents. So there's a for loop that's succeeding this particular prompt, if you see in the code. Yes, Pranavesh, ideally to get the final output, I hope you are understanding what is the intent of this particular lab, right? In summary, what we want to do is there's a book that is there on the Project Gutenberg site. We want to summarize the content of the book and content of the chapters in chunks and then do a final summary with the help of Granite. And that is where this code is helping us to do it in a very structured manner. So yes, if you want to get the final output, you have to run all the shells that are there in this particular Python workbook. Any questions from anyone, please? Or is it more or less clear? I could have done just the presentation without the lab, but I wanted to have the lab because I wanted you to do a hands-on and get a flavor of it. After run-on shell, I get this type of output. Okay, you can test what kind of output you're getting.
Sir, is the whole model is made using Hugging Face?
No, Hugging Face is an open source platform which actually hosts models. It's not using Hugging Face to create models as such. Okay.
Okay.
So it's actually an open source Python library, okay, that provides access to thousands of pre-trained models. And Granite is one of them because IBM embraces open source all the time. And that is the reason why even our models have been launched as open source only. Rajdeep Devnath. No, sir, I was facing some problems by running the code. Now my problems were solved. Thanks, sir. Okay, thank you so much. So anyone who is still working on the code who has some issues, please let me know. Please share your screen immediately. So give me a thumbs up. How many of you have been able to complete the lab, please? Let me see. Ishit, thank you. Gauravdeep, thank you. Nayan, thank you. Chinma, thank you. Gaurav, Gauravdeep, thank you. Ashmit, thank you. Thank you so much. Anyone who is struggling, anyone who is facing issues running the lab or facing any challenges? So this should provide you with the confidence to work on LLM models in terms of using them for your own task, or you can be creative as well. So this is just one of the models that you have used. You could use other models as well. In some cases, you may need some kind of credits. So there are ways to get those credits, or you may have to, Sir, what to do is select model. Aranya, can you please share your screen? I'm not getting your question. Aranya, can you please share your screen? Okay, so you are in the GitHub account, that's for sure. So did you manage to get the replicate token or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Rajdeep, go ahead. This is not something that's confidential, so go ahead. Ananya, have you been following the instructions, please, in the lab? Ananya,
Yes, sir.
you have, okay. This is the GitHub account that you are sharing. Did you manage to get the replicate credit?
Yes, I got the credit.
You have got to get, where is the API token? Can you show me? Did you get the API token, Ananya?
So I think this one is the API token, this default one. I copied it.
You copied it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, try it out. So yeah, go to the Python workbook, start executing it, and then whenever it asks for the API token, try using it.
Yes.
Anyone else who is also facing issues like Aranya, let me know, please.
If you want to share something with sir, you can share your screen and show it here only.
Aranya, are you still there with me?
Yes, sir.
Did you get? You mentioned you got the token. Can you try applying it on the workbook and run the code?
Yes, sir, I did it.
Because I cannot see your screen. I see only one screen, the GitHub window. Or maybe it's okay. If you are done, then it's fine. I don't have any concern there. Anyone else facing any challenges, or are we okay here? Any questions from anyone? Anything that is still confusing you, or something that's not clear to you? Please let me know. So what I would request you to do is please use this Quizbit platform. Now that you have registered, there are lots of courses, lots of labs, and some of them provide you with digital credentials as well. Okay, and these are all free. You don't need to pay a penny for this. So make sure you utilize the platform well, and this will really enrich you. That's what I would suggest. And there's another e-learning that I would recommend all of you to go through. Let me just bring you the link. Give me one moment. So this you can do at your leisure time or whenever you want. So this will give you a very good idea about all the other nitty-gritties around summarizing data with IBM Granite. You will find more technical data over there. So final call for any questions or any concern from anyone, anything that you didn't understand, you want to follow up, you want to confirm, let me know please. This is the time. No questions from anyone? Okay, all right. So do take a look at the learning activity that I just posted on the channel now. So this one is a very good course if you want to get yourself acclimatized with IBM Granite and how it's used for document summarization. Okay.
Participants, if you have any other questions, you can please ask.
Yes, Pranav, go ahead, please. So, Aranya, did you understand the intent of this Python workbook? What it's supposed to be doing? Why did you execute the workbook? What was the intent? Did you understand it? All right. So, Pranavesh is sharing the screen. And as you can see, the input size is 4811 tokens. Output size is 211 tokens. This book, based on summaries provided, is an introspective exploration of solitude, nature, and self-discovery by an unnamed author living in a secluded cabin near Walden. Yes. So this is the summary of summaries that was provided by this particular code based on the entire book that it scanned. Okay. So, Aranya, after this lab, we do not have any activity as such. What it's recommended to be done is please okay. So what I try to tell you is that the intent of this particular workbook is to, first of all, use the Granite model that is available on Hugging Face. And here we actually used replicate API token to get the environment. And using it, we created a summary of summaries. So we used a hierarchical abstractive summarization technique to adapt the content, the context length of the model. Otherwise, we could have issues with the number of tokens that would be too high for our purpose, right? We cannot just copy the entire text of the book and then put it in the LLM. We would exceed the tokens, right? What we did instead was we used docling to first of all understand the document structure. Then we chunked the document to text passages and then grouped the text passages by chapter, which we then summarized. Okay. Once we did that, we defined a method to generate a response using list of documents and user prompt for about the documents. Okay. So we adhere to the Granite prompting guide, which is there in the link is provided in the Python workbook itself. And then we provide the document with the documents parameter. And for each chapter, we create separate summary, which of course took a few minutes. And after that, based on the summaries that we now retrieved by chapters, we created a final summary, which is like a summary of summaries based on the chapter summaries that we had. And then we prompted the model to create a unified summary. This is the whole purpose of the workbook. This is what the entire workbook did for us. Is it clear, or do you still have any questions? Aranya, does it make sense? And it's okay if it doesn't make sense at one go. Make sure you go through the code that is there in the workbook and read through the description, read through the code, understand what each function is doing. Go to the hyperlinks, click on the hyperlinks. What is docking? What is the document structure? How it's getting the document structure? How it's getting the summary of summaries? Everything. I would request you to please go through in detail. You would get a lot of understanding, and you can actually improvise and use this workbook to create your own workbook maybe tomorrow, and then maybe use this model, use some other model, tweak the use case to something different, and try it out. That is the whole intent, because this code will provide you the base on which you can build further.
Sir, is it like a training a model like ChatGPT or Gemini?
We are not training a model, Aranya. We are prompting a model with our code, where the prompt input is the text from that particular book. So the intent of the original use case is we have a big book. We don't know what that book is all about. We want to summarize the book in such a way that provides us with a crisp insight into what the book is all about. So we are using our code to prompt the model. When the model goes into the when the prompt goes into the model, it provides an output, and now we design our workbook in such a way that the token limitation is not exceeded. At the same time, we have a performant code. We use document chunking, we use chapter-wise summaries, and then we create a summary of summaries. Okay? Does it make sense? I would strongly recommend you to also go through the recommended learning link that I just posted around 8 minutes back. Whatever doubts you may still have, I hope it would be clear if you go through this learning as well. And feel free to ask if you have any further questions. So I am taking silence as you have. There are no other questions at this point. So, Professor, maybe over to you.
Yes, sir. I think there are no more questions from the participants. So we will conclude the section. Thank you very much, sir, for this incredibly insightful session. And we are grateful for the time that you have shared with us. Now, I would like to invite our head of the department, Professor Dr. Shobin Paul, to please kindly say a few words and share his reflections. So, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chiranjeev Mojumdar, that your session is really wonderful, and I think that it will motivate our students in the world of AI. Your online coding applications is nicely interacted by our students, and I think it is a very fruitful and very positive inspirations towards our students. And I think it will be very fruitful to them, and it will help them to understand how that world is working with generative AI and what is their use of that in a real world scenario. So thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much, Professor. It was a pleasure from my side as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And thank you, Professor Dr. Shomlin Paul, sir. Now we conclude our first half with this. And I would request all the participants to please join us for the second half as well, which will start from 2:30. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.